Hey, everybody, it's your best friends, Ryan.
And Spencer.
And we wanted to just come at you quick and say once more, holy shit, thank you guys so much for listening. We just keep growing every week, and and we want to say thank you for helping us grow. There's a couple ways that you guys are helping us do that.
One of which is leaving us reviews and ratings on iTunes.
Yes.
I know it's kind of a pain to do, and you need an Apple ID, and they haven't updated anything in like 10 years. But a lot of people go there and look for information about cool new podcasts.
Yes.
So it actually would help us out quite a bit if you've been digging the show. If you could go leave us a nice review and a rating. And I mean, an honest review, I would say, too. If you don't like it. Actually, never mind. Go fuck yourself. If you like it, leave a review. If you don't, just like, there are 7 million other podcasts. Go find one that you like better.
Yeah. And then the other thing is just tell your friends if you are liking the podcast. Obviously, a lot of you are. We've been getting some tweets and some messages, and it seems like y'all are really digging it and sharing it with friends. So please keep doing that. Also, it means a lot to us when you do.
The show suggestions have been rolling in much more rapidly lately, which is
every
very
day.
much appreciated. So please keep those coming. And obviously, we won't be able to get to all of them. But we've been tossing around the idea of maybe doing a rapid fire Q&A listener suggestion episode every once in a while to just kind of run through a bunch of those.
Yeah, definitely. So if you want to send us another one of those, you can hit us up at hi@whatifpodcast.com. And again, if you've been enjoying the show and you want to do us a really quick favor, it would mean the most if you went on iTunes, left us a quick review, and told a friend or two about the What If podcast. Speaking of which,
what's going on?
Let's start the show.
Welcome to the What If podcast with your hosts, Spencer Worth Davis and Ryan Copperrood.
I watched a video today of two praying mantises getting it on. And the lady mantis just ate the entire head of the male praying mantis, and he continued fucking this other praying mantis for like another 5 minutes.
This is the What If podcast, and that is 100% how we're starting the episode this week.
He had no head, and he was still getting after it.
Wow.
Because apparently they have a secondary brain for situations just like that.
Mantises have a secondary brain
that allows basic bodily functions to continue when they don't have a head.
But only the males?
I don't know.
Okay.
I got really grossed out and there was no good audio, so I moved on.
It will make sense to you all why Spencer was trying to pull audio from Praying Mantis Planet Earth videos.
I teased the giant Praying Mantis UFO story last time.
That's true. I'm just saying it'll make more sense later once we fully dive into that story. But that was too wild for us to not start.
You know why I was watching all kinds of crazy shit today?
Why?
Ancient aliens.
Yeah. Yep. Or sort of.
Dude, I'm just gonna go back and forth between these two for the whole episode.
Yep.
Explain it to me. Ancient aliens.
That's real. I mean,
that's the answer to everything.
Since you superiorly dropped the ball and didn't hit a single audio drop last episode, we got to make up for it.
Sometimes I get, when we talk about things like UFOs and aliens that I get really excited about, I forget to do the other half of my job.
You got to pass the board to me so I can hit the audio drops and play games.
I'm telling you, we got to get Machine on your phone so that you can bring stuff. We got 2 more inputs. You can surprise me with random drops.
Wait, is that a real thing we can do?
Yeah, it's like $5. Download it right now.
Okay. Next week, definitely having my own audio board, and that is going to be incredible.
Yeah, and you can start making beats too.
Oh, yes. Why not both? Hi, everybody. This is the What If podcast. If you haven't sussed out thus much so far today.
That was quite a sentence. Talking is hard sometimes.
Talking is very hard, especially when we do it as often as we do. We're back this week. Last week we started an episode. This week will still make sense if you haven't listened to last week's, but if this is your first time joining us for the show, I highly recommend you start with part 1 last week just to get some context.
I mean, or you're just going to hear a bunch of really crazy UFO and alien stories for about an hour, and that might be fun too.
That also might be fun.
I wouldn't be mad at that.
But there are other really good alien and UFO stories that we told last week as well, including Big Mike.
Oh, Big Mike update. So first of all, did you watch that video I sent you? Because I found a video of Big Mike being interviewed about his time in the Navy, I think, and some weird government conspiracy alien shit that he experienced back then. I also have an email out to Big Mike requesting that he come talk to us on the show.
Spencer is physically crossing his fingers right now as he said that sentence.
That wasn't for the listeners, but thank you for sharing that.
I'm just letting them know.
That was just for myself and for the ether.
I'm letting them know how intensely you are genuinely hoping that we get a message back from Big Mike. So am I, man. So am I.
We'll see. But I've put it out there. Hopefully he hits us back.
Yeah, that won't make sense. Go back to part 1 of this episode and listen to Big Mike's story. It is really fascinating and phenomenal, and we hope we can get him on the show. But we are talking about part 2 of What If You Saw a UFO. We intended for it to only be a 1-part episode, but I feel like we could probably just do like 15 hours on this topic.
I was gonna say I'm just trying to like subtly steer us into now doing a UFO and alien only podcast. So I'm just gonna week after week just keep extending this out until we're on part 614.
Like 30 episodes from now, it's just gonna be like, have you ever heard of ancient religions and art forms with aliens, like just appended to every exactly.
So I think today we should just run through a bunch of cool UFO and alien stories.
We do have some pretty wild, fun stories to tell.
Well, I'm gonna work my way from least crazy to most crazy.
Okay.
And you can stop me and intervene at any point.
At any point that I'm like, this is too crazy, I need to tell my story.
Or like if you have a story that fits somewhere along that scale, because like the true professionals that we are, we have not compared notes whatsoever before starting this episode.
We also, though, we have said that we intentionally do this because
it's more fun that way.
If you tell me the story that you're going to tell me on the air and then I already have my new reaction to it, then on the air it's like, yeah, and then this happened.
Right.
All right, well, I have a strong sense that your shit's going to get real weird real quick. So my initial inclination is that I should tell my story very first, but I think I'm going to wait. I'm going to let you tell your first couple.
I'm going to start with a fairly tame one as far as UFO stories go.
Okay, we told some relatively tame ones last week, I would say.
Phoenix Lights, familiar?
Yeah, we should tell this one. This is a good one.
I think it's interesting just in that it's one of the most widely witnessed UFO events.
Yes.
There were thousands of people that all saw roughly the same thing and over the course of several hours. And over like a really long distance too, a distance of almost, it was like 300 miles from Mexico all the way into Arizona. Mm-hmm. This was in 1997, March of 97, and thousands of people saw a huge, they said, the average was somewhere around a couple 100 yards across.
Yikes.
V-shaped craft moving very slowly, sometimes at very low altitudes, not making any sound, and it had 5 lights on the bottom of it. So if you can imagine sort of like a boomerang, but that comes to more of a point.
Yeah, it's like imagine one singular light far away, and then on the other side is like 5 in an arc almost.
Or like a carpenter's square. Mm-hmm. Turned at an angle. It's like that.
That's fair.
And then on the bottom of it, there were 5 lights running along it.
Yeah.
And it was witnessed by thousands of people. Tons of people filed reports, called police. There were photographs and video of it.
Yeah, we know this is an audio podcast, but like, just literally go on YouTube and search Phoenix Lights right now. And if you've never seen it, it's good video. It's an interesting site.
The governor of Arizona was one of the witnesses who initially kind of mocked and ridiculed it and held a press conference in which they had one of his assistants dress up in a really shitty alien costume and pretend to be the person responsible for it.
They like put the alien in handcuffs and was like, take him away.
Yeah, and they sort of mocked the whole thing that thousands of his constituents had seen the night before, which is probably not the best idea.
Right.
Just from a PR standpoint.
Yeah.
But he has later come out and said that he did see it and that his conclusion is that it was most likely extraterrestrial.
Yeah. That he, which I think is a really interesting one too, because if you think about people who've seen UFOs, like you and I, not that you and I have seen them, but average, ordinary citizens, if you will, who've seen them get given explanations sometimes, right? So somebody reports it and they're like, I saw X in the sky, and a quote unquote official body goes, oh, well, it was this, and we'll talk about a list of those later.
Well, and even in this case, the Air Force did give an explanation saying that it was a type of illumination flare or multiple illumination flares that had been dropped at a nearby Air Force base. So it's Luke Air Force Base.
Right.
And they basically said that they would have been visible for many miles in all directions, that they do fall very slowly, and that so it's a flare with some sort of like parachute attached to it, so that it falls slowly. But they said that because if the flares are burning under the right atmospheric conditions, that heat rising from the flare
actually makes them stationary almost.
Can cause them to like kind of stay stationary or even rise at times because of the heat.
That's interesting.
Sort of like a hot air balloon type of effect. But that doesn't explain a lot of what people saw that night. It wouldn't explain them moving as one object.
Right.
They wouldn't have been visible over a 300-mile range unless you were dropping multiple sets of flares over that area.
Yeah.
They probably wouldn't have been visible for like 5 or 6 hours, like people reported.
Yeah, that's the one thing I thought about it. I actually, when I was looking up the Phoenix Lights, I looked up a video of a plane dropping these exact type of flare. Which exists online, and it's actually really fascinating to watch it happen. And they do look somewhat similar, but like the way that they're dropped, like you watch this airplane drop 1, drop 2, drop 3, and by the time it gets to number 4, the first one it dropped has already sunk noticeably in the sky. Not by like a significant margin, but definitely like it's sort of falling.
They're not aligned.
They're not aligned, and when you look at the video of the Phoenix Lights, they really look like an arc, like a halo, or like a half a halo, or whatever you want to call it. And to your point, like they were up there for like hours, 4, 5, 6 hours, just chilling over this city, which I think.
Well, and it wasn't just over Phoenix either, though. It was all the way. They were getting reports all the way into Mexico, and I mean, it was a huge, huge area that people saw this over.
Right.
And you're not gonna be able to see a flare from 300 miles away.
Yeah.
So I think that one's interesting, just in that it's pretty tame on the scale of lights in the sky to having a human alien hybrid baby.
Yes.
But it's interesting in that thousands of people saw it. There's video and photo evidence of it.
Yep.
Some very credible people saw it and reported it. It's relatively recent. I mean, within, it was 97, 20 years ago. But compared to some of the other stuff that gets reported and tossed around out there, we have, those people are all still around for the most part, and the video is somewhat watchable, and it's pretty decent quality. And
to your point about there being respectable sort of witnesses and like people in power, whatever, I do think that for a guy, I can't remember the name of the governor at the time, but the guy who
Fife Symington.
Fife Symington?
Yes. Fife Dog was governor at the time.
Wow. That's a cool name.
Mm-hmm.
Fife Symington. Oh, why not me? Why not me, man? Our podcast would have so many more listeners right away just because it would be like, brought to you by Fife Symington. And people would be like, fuck yeah, that guy's awesome.
Is that you being British, or is that British lady announcing Fife
That
Symington?
was British lady saying,
Got you.
Maybe every time we have a guest from now on, we should just call them Fife Symington.
I bet Fife Symington wouldn't appreciate that.
That's true. Maybe we should see if we can get him on the show. But just that somebody like that in a position of power who would be getting, as a governor, you're probably getting information, updates, etc., from your local bodies. If there's something like that happening, or reports are getting called in, police are talking about it or whatever, like I feel like you as the governor are probably going to be a person who's like, hey, this is happening in your city. Here's what's going on. For him to eventually come to the conclusion that he was like he made fun of it originally and then was like, yeah, I'm not so sure.
Except that he says that he also saw it.
But that's what I mean, is for him to say there being a quote unquote official explanation for what happened, and for him to be like, no, I saw it, and even in the face of the explanations that I as governor would have received, I still think that's wrong, and I think it was something else.
But there was too much pressure for him to say that at the time when he was actually governor.
Like he would look like a loopy, a loopy dude if he had acknowledged what he thought originally. But yeah, I think in terms of credibility, as far as that goes, that he's certainly an interesting case for sure.
All right, started with an easy one.
Yeah,
that's kind of all there is to that one.
Started from the bottom.
There is a there's a documentary out there about it somewhere. I think it's available on YouTube. That's pretty good, and has interviews with a lot of those people that were witnesses, including Mr. Simonton, and has some of the video footage that we were referencing.
Okay, cool.
It's worth checking out.
We'll put a link on the website.
Is this?
I don't know.
You want me to keep working my way up?
I don't know how far you're about to jump, but I kind of want to know.
All right.
I feel like the first 4 words will tell me, and I'll be like, all right, hang on, I gotta tell mine. No, go ahead.
We're going back to 1964, Vandenberg Air Force Base.
Okay. Where is that?
Come on, man. You can't ask me questions about stuff.
Vandenberg Air Force Base.
I'm gonna say it's in. Oh no, wait. I do actually know this.
Good.
This was in California. Where in California? Along the coast, somewhere in California.
Vandenberg Air Force Base, California.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm with you.
And this story centers around a man named Dr. Robert Jacobs, who, for the Air Force, his job was to film missile launches.
Cool.
In order to monitor how they were performing. So how well the engines were performing, the staging of it, etc. And he was up on this mountain range several miles away from where they were launching the missile one day with this huge telescopic camera
lens. Sure.
So it was literally a telescope with a camera attached to the eyepiece.
Are you saying, wait, I'm sorry. Are you saying this is his job, like his job, like he's being paid to do this by the military, or this
No, he was like 19 or 20. Okay. He was in the Air Force. This was his current post.
Got it.
Yeah. So he's out there filming this missile launch, and he turns in the film, puts it in a can, hands it into his supervisor.
Yep.
And the next day he gets called into this meeting with his supervisor and 2 CIA gentlemen. And they play him the recording that he had made the day before.
Interesting.
So they hook up the film, the projector, they play it for him. And what he watches is this missile moving about 7,000 miles an hour, and it's at sort of the peak of its journey. So it's out near like the upper edges of our atmosphere. It's way out there. And this missile was equipped with a dummy nuclear warhead.
Okay, so it's very much a test.
So they were testing this missile that would be able to deliver a nuclear warhead, but there was not one on it.
Got it.
And so he sees the missile, he sees the 2 stages of it separate, and he sees this dummy warhead released. And like almost immediately after the dummy warhead is released, coming into the frame, he sees a UFO traveling at roughly 7,000 miles an hour because it's pacing itself with this missile. And the UFO circles, makes a full 360-degree lap around this warhead and fires 4 beams of light at it. So like one on the top, moves to the side, fires one, moves to the bottom, fires one, moves to the other side, fires one, and then flies out of the frame.
I feel like because this happened in the 60s, there's not video of this.
There's not.
Yeah.
Because the 2 CIA agents...
Because the CIA has it?
Yeah, confiscated it. So he was ordered...
Freedom of Information Act.
So they first asked him, what the fuck is this film that you gave us yesterday? Were you messing around?
And he said, motherfucker, why don't you tell me?
He's like, no, you guys developed it. I haven't even seen it until right now. Like, no, I wasn't messing around. It seems like not a thing to do with nuclear missile test launches as a 19-year-old in the Air Force.
Generally sounds like a bad idea.
Oh, and so after the UFO, sorry, I skipped ahead. After the UFO fired these 4 beams of light, the warhead failed and fell. So,
but it wasn't it a dummy warhead anyway?
Right, but like they managed to whatever what's the word I'm looking for? Whatever like propulsion or anything attached to it
just like fell out of the sky.
It just dropped like a brick.
Whoa. Dude, that's so weird.
So they took the tape. He and his supervisor were told never to reference it again, which I don't know. I mean, he's going around on camera referencing it all the time now.
I mean, we can't like arrest him for saying the CIA told me not to say I saw something and I did, right? Maybe that's part of a contract they sign. Yeah, you're probably
I'm
right.
sure you can. I would guess you have to sign some sort of
a non-disclosure agreement of sorts.
At least.
Yeah.
I guess. But there's a whole, and the unacknowledged doc that we watched last week got into it a little bit, but there are many, many cases of UFOs being associated with nuclear warheads and nuclear bases and missile launches and tests and disarming things before they can launch. And there's this whole history of UFOs and nukes that we don't have time to get into on a 1-hour podcast episode, but a lot of people have speculated that, or have allegedly been told by aliens that the reason for the aliens being here is because of humans' ability to produce nuclear weapons. And
basically, like we dropped nuclear weapons in the early 40s. Roswell happened in 47. So after we'd already dropped nuclear bombs for the first time,
which was 45, correct?
I believe Hiroshima was 45.
It was the end of the war.
Let's not sound too stupid and look it up really quick.
I'm pretty sure it's 45.
Yeah, I think so too.
And then, so it was public knowledge by 45. Other countries were catching up by later in the 40s. And then the UFO flap kind of immediately followed that. And a lot of the contactees of the 40s, 50s, 60s reported, getting messages from aliens along the lines of,
hey, can you guys be cool?
Yeah.
Can you be cool for a fucking second?
You're ruining the planet and yourselves, and you might be messing things up for the rest of us.
Hey guys, can you put it in check before we have to put you in check?
Because the U.S. and the Russians were doing all sorts of insane tests with nukes too. It wasn't just the bombings at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and we were testing nukes in space just to see what would happen.
Dude,
the Russians were making giant nuclear bombs and blowing them up just to see like how much shit does this destroy?
How big can we boom?
I read an article yesterday about food and like beverage rations that were placed near nuclear tests.
I saw this.
Just to see if they were still consumable afterwards. I think it was on Reddit.
That's probably
about the dude whose job it was to test the beer that was next to the nukes.
And beer is cool, you guys.
Yep.
You guys.
So if your beer gets nuked, it's still fine.
I'm drinking one right now.
Did you nuke it first?
No.
Okay.
But I could have.
Ryan,
and it would still be okay.
Ryan is capable of drinking regular beer out of a can, is what we just concluded.
And if it had been irradiated, I could also still drink it.
Nukes and UFOs is a thing.
I find that really fascinating from the timing of it all, like the timing of the original nuclear bomb going off in our society. I mean, I guess, we had to have been testing them before Hiroshima.
No one knew about it if we were.
Had we not actually detonated one until we hadn't? I remember.
I don't think so.
I remember seeing something about like there being a thing about Japan being on like imminent surrender almost, and that the Woodrow Wilson decision to drop the atomic bomb on Hiroshima was partially like, we made this thing and we think it does a lot of damage, but we know they're going to surrender soon anyway, so we might as well drop it and see what it does.
Okay, there was a test prior.
Was it here? Where was it?
It was in New Mexico.
Okay.
on July 16th of 45. So
But that was the first one.
that was the first test, was July 16th, 1945. And then the bombing.
Hiroshima was in August of that same year.
Okay. So they tested it like,
month to month.
yeah, a couple weeks prior.
That to me is kind of fascinating that like the UFO phenomena really took off after that incident and that there is sort of a connection around that.
Well, yes and no. I mean, it depends on how much credibility you give to the earlier reports of weird things in the sky.
Sure.
That narrative caught on then,
Yeah.
but it wasn't part of public knowledge prior to that, obviously.
Right.
You know, it would have been crazier if aliens had come to us in the 20s and said, hey, that thing you guys are going to do like 25 years from now,
Don't do that.
please don't,
Hey, don't
because
do
it's
that.
going to mess up things for everybody. But
That would have been so much cooler though.
right, that's what I'm saying. Except then, I don't know, maybe we wouldn't have. But
Today, well, still then, Vandenberg Air Force Base is located north of Santa Barbara and south of San Luis Obispo in Northern California and is currently one of SpaceX's launch locations.
oh, word.
They have public viewings of live missile launches and tours of the base that happen on a semi-regular basis.
All right.
SpaceX, Elon hanging out with the aliens. You know he's going to be the first
he's
one to
trying
find
to,
them
man.
and tell people.
Hell yeah.
If there is a massive cover up of aliens, Elon's gonna be the
He will
first
get
one
to the
be
bottom
like,
of it for us.
He'll be like, guys, there's aliens. He's just gonna tweet it one day, and everyone's gonna be like, "Holy shit, Elon!" It's like, no, I mean, there's aliens. I saw them. I don't know what you want me to do. He's so matter of fact about so many
Colonized
things.
Mars, and then there were some dudes there.
Yeah, for sure. I wish we had video of that, but I know that there are interviews and reports of that, which is
Of what? Of dudes on Mars?
No. Of the Vandenberg, like there are people who were present and saw the footage and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely documented it. There were 425 people present. Seems like too many.
425 people who watched the missile launch.
Oh, nope, sorry, I misread that. 425 people who were at the base the week. Can you imagine if you were stationed at that base and didn't know what was going on? Because it was incredibly secretive. It was the end result of a Manhattan Project. Can you imagine if you're just there that weekend and then a fucking nuclear bomb goes off?
Oh, you're talking
and
about
no
the
one gave you a
test.
heads up?
Oh.
There were 425 people on the base. I'm assuming some or most of whom
This is in New Mexico?
didn't know that was what they were doing there.
Dave, what the fuck was that?
You got to assume the world just ended, right?
100%.
You have no frame of
100%.
reference, no context. It literally has never happened before.
Also, do you not you're in the middle of World War II. Do you not assume you're
just lost.
getting bombed
Right.
aggressively?
Right.
Jesus Christ.
It was
Dave, run! Run! Oh, fuck.
and now we're just making jokes about nuking things.
Look,
Hey,
we're sorry.
sometimes it gets weird.
It's been bad.
All right. Is it your time yet, or should I keep going?
I don't know. I'm kind of curious. Mine is okay. This one is pretty tame. I will say this is pretty tame.
That's
I'll tell
the
my story.
last halfway reasonable one I have.
Okay, then I'm gonna tell my story
Okay.
because mine is also halfway reasonable. So I'm a little bit. I'll do this. I'll tell mine, and then we'll take a quick break, and we'll come back with the all the way unreasonables.
Perfect.
And we'll go from there. So this one is actually the most recent, like, legitimized sighting that I've seen.
Oh, you don't read the blogs that I read, bro.
I mean, legitimized in a way that I guess I would personally identify as, like, legitimized.
You calling Big Mike illegitimate now?
No, I love Big Mike forever.
Okay.
He's my best friend. He's my best friend forever.
Sorry. Carry on. It's your story time now. I'll shut up.
So this video, there's video, which is always great, came out in January of 2017.
Okay.
So this year. And the video itself was taken on November 11th of 2014. And it was taken off the west coast of Santiago, Chile.
Okay.
And it was taken from a Airbus Cougar AS-532 Navy helicopter.
Airbus Cougar.
Yeah,
what a
bro.
fucking name.
Uh-huh.
I love it already.
Yep. And there
so we're in Chile.
Yep.
We're riding a big flying cougar through the sky.
Indeed.
We're in the Navy, did you say?
We are in the Chilean Navy.
Oh, Chilean Navy. Even better. Okay.
The Chilean Navy off the coast of Santiago.
And all right.
The purpose
Take
of
it away.
the purpose of our flight today is to test a WESCAM, a Westcam MX-15 HD forward-looking infrared camera.
That was a lot of words that I did not think was going to end with camera. Okay.
Camera. It is a infrared camera that they have mounted to basically, you know, those, have you ever seen those like pivot cameras that are underneath like the base nose of a helicopter?
Okay.
It's one of those, but it's like a super, super expensive out of this world infrared camera that is used for, quote, medium altitude covert intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance.
And or finding Bigfoot in the jungle.
Or finding Bigfoot in the jungle.
That's what I would use it for.
Definitely, which they didn't actually find Bigfoot, but guess what? They found something else.
Predator?
Definitely not Predator either. It was a clear afternoon. It was during the day. They were flying at 4,500 feet at 152 knots. And at 2 p.m., they observed a strange object flying to the left over the ocean.
Oh, to the left, you say?
Well, the left of...
to their left.
Well, they were flying north and to their left, so west over the ocean, I guess would technically be it.
I just thought that was a funny detail that probably has nothing to do with this actual story.
To the left, to the left. So the cool thing about the test is they're recording everything because they're trying to see how this infrared camera works during the daytime. Yeah. So they want to be able to bring it back and show everybody, here's how it worked. And so they see this weird thing, they turn the camera to it, and it's already recording. And basically, when you're a covert helicopter testing a brand new camera for the Chilean Navy and you see a flying thing you're not supposed to see, your immediate thing is like, hey guys, what the fuck is that and why is it out here?
I was going to say they just bombed the fuck out of it.
I don't think they're that aggro. They're not the United States. You know?
That's real. That's real.
They're a little less aggro than that.
They don't get in nearly as many wars as we do.
I think they probably ask a couple of questions first, like, hey guys, what is this? Which is actually what they did. So they hit up some radar stations along the Chilean coast going, hey, what do you guys see? Because we're pretty sure we see something. And we'd love you to confirm or deny that. And unfortunately, the two closest radar stations to the helicopter had no radar detection of what they were seeing flying through the air. The interesting part about that is...
What did they see exactly?
I'm getting there.
Okay.
But basically, air traffic controllers confirmed to them when they radio down to see, hey guys, we're seeing something weird. Do you guys have this on your flight plans or in your radar? Because we see it. Yeah. Air traffic controllers said that no traffic, civilian or military, had been reported, and no aircraft had been authorized to fly in the controlled airspace where they were testing, because it was like Navy airspace that they were testing this camera in.
So there's nothing was supposed to be there. And whatever it was wasn't showing up on radar? Nothing
was there or was supposed to be there, basically, according to the radar people.
Right. Okay.
So, yes. Also, the onboard radar on this crazy fucking helicopter itself didn't pick it up either.
Okay. I did not know that helicopters had radar on board.
Yeah. Little spinners.
Okay.
But they could see it. And for what it's worth, and maybe the most important part about this is... there is 9 minutes worth of video footage of this happening through an infrared camera that you can go online and watch right now.
I'm going to go ahead and do that while you keep talking.
So you can actually search, if you want, the phrase groundbreaking UFO video released by Chilean Navy. And
it's a long phrase. Can I just search?
Well, I'm just saying that will get you exactly to the video that is in the article I'm looking at.
I love the amount of people that will put video after a search on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
I put Chilean UFO and it was like Chilean UFO video? YouTube. Yes.
Isn't that
I'm looking for videos.
Isn't that exclusively what you guys do?
Yes.
That would be like going to a restaurant and reading the menu, and after it, like fried chicken with mashed potatoes, parentheses, food. Like, no, I'm pretty sure I know what that is.
All right.
Okay.
Carry on. I'm going to watch this video.
Yeah. React however you need to when you see it. But basically, the helicopter, after realizing it's not supposed to be there, nobody sees it's there, their radar doesn't see it's there, they try to radio to contact it multiple times. It doesn't respond to them. They basically, so infrared, as you know, detects heat as well. So this thing, it kind of looks almost like two
giant flying Bigfoot.
It does not look like giant flying Bigfoot.
He'd give off a heat signature.
He's like flapping his arms. That's how Bigfoot flies. It's just by flapping his arms super fast.
They're really big.
He's so big. No, it's
that is weird.
Yeah, it's like two almost like roundish hot circles next to each other because infrared detects heat. So the way that the actual shape is being made is from the heat that it's emanating. So you can see these two hot side by side, almost like horizontal circles. Now here's when it gets sort of extra weird. Is they've been following this thing for 6-ish minutes with this helicopter. It's moving further away from them, but they're kind of trying to keep pace with it. They can also use the zoom function on the infrared to kind of drop in closer to it. So they're tracking with it and zooming in when they need to.
When does the second one come in? I'm only seeing one thing so far.
There is only one UFO, but at the 8-minute mark of the video, as they're following it, the two infrared lights emit this. The article that I am pulling this from says a massive plume of very hot material trailing behind the object. And if you watch the video, it's this spread across the sky that happens for like a not insignificant period of time. It's like 30 or 45 seconds and it's wide. It's kind of huge. And it's this plume of something that it like deploys through the sky.
Oh,
and then
weird.
Stops and keeps flying.
So then whatever that something is hot, right? That's why it's showing up?
Right. It's hot because it's the infrared camera is picking up the heat that it's emanating. But there's no...
That is really weird looking.
But the crazy part is if you watch the video, they swap in and out of the infrared and you can't really see the plume when it swaps out of the infrared.
Right.
But when they swap it back on, you can see this like massive trail. It's like, we're not about to be talking about chemtrails in here, but for those who think about what a chemtrail looks like, it's like
says we're not going to talk about chemtrails.
I mean, maybe eventually. But it's like a wide plume straight through the sky for 30 or 45 seconds at a time.
Wouldn't like an airplane or something do that too, though? Anything putting out heat, right?
But the weird part about it is it only happens for small bursts of time. So it's just, as it's flying, it's just these two weird orbs that are side by side
and
that are visible to the naked
hot.
eye. That are consistently hot, but then when they swap into infrared, it's randomly leaving 45-second trails of heat through the sky.
Are there any hypotheses about what this thing is?
So the kind of cool part about this story that is like maybe my favorite part of it and why I think it's one of my favorite sort of sighting stories is because the only reason that we have 9 minutes of video from 2014 is because Chile essentially gave up after 2 years of trying to figure out what this was and was like, you guys got any fucking ideas? Because we super don't. Like literally.
Dude, why doesn't everyone do that? Why can't all of our governments do that?
Wish they would. They basically confirmed when they released the video, they publicly released the video. This didn't get leaked. Chile was like, hey guys, some really fucking weird shit happened and we'd love it if you could give us a hand.
So I was going to ask earlier why it took so long for the footage to come out, but it's because they were trying to figure it out?
They took 2 years and assembled a panel of 9 experts who were like all knowledgeable in air traffic and airplane identification and all kinds of shit. And they were studying it and watching the footage and breaking it down and researching it and asking other people. And at the end of it, like no one really has a good answer in Chile. So they were like, can you guys?
And no one else has either in the last 6 months or
not
whatever
so far, not as far as I was able to find out. So it's one of the better, like, we have 9 minutes of video of this object doing some weird shit that no one can identify and no one knows what it was or why it was supposed to be there.
Explain it to me.
Yeah.
Ancient aliens.
It just might be.
Solved.
It just might be.
The riddle has been solved.
Anyway, Google groundbreaking UFO video just released by Chilean Navy or some shorter version of that.
Remember to put video at the end, though, otherwise it'll bring up a PDF describing it to you.
Parentheses, video. I need the video. Let's get extra weird.
Okay.
Weirder than we've gotten after a quick break.
What? We just took a break. What are you talking about?
We ain't take no break.
We didn't take a break?
We ain't take no break, bro.
0 breaks so far?
Do you feel like you feel
I
like
just checked out, I guess.
you feel like your break was watching the Chilean
we just
Navy
went,
video
we just
happen.
went half 35 minutes with no break?
Yeah, man.
What the I think I just got abducted and have some missing time. I swear we took a break.
This is how much Spencer loves aliens, as it feels like no time goes by when we talk about UFOs.
Well, shit, we should probably take a break then.
Let's take a quick break, and we're gonna come back in a second, and we're gonna really see how weird we can get by the end of today's episode. It's the What If Podcast.
We want to hear from you. Send us a message. Email hi, that's hi, at whatifpodcast.com. Or leave us a voicemail at 612-246-4614.
No lies born today.
What if it were true?
I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of lies get born every time we do this.
Dude, do you think I can justify spending like an afternoon to a full day just watching Ancient Aliens to pull sound from it? Because I spent about 5 minutes on it today and I found
Ancient aliens.
and
What if it were true?
I feel like yes, but it might just end up being you pulling like 26 minutes of a 30-minute show. Like, you're just going to be like,
Our podcast-
this is all hilarious, man.
our podcast is now just it's just reactions to Ancient Aliens. We're just sitting here and watching an episode of Ancient Aliens and react to it.
Dude, that's entirely what that Action Bronson show is on Vice. Have you ever watched that before?
Oh, yeah.
Where they put the Ancient Aliens on the green screen behind them? And
I
they
haven't
just
watched it, but I remember now that was a thing that they were or are doing.
I think they still do it. They just get super baked and watch episodes of Ancient
And
Aliens.
you'll never run out because they make somehow 3 seasons of that show every year.
Is it still coming out?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
I thought they were going to run out of stuff after like the first month. It was supposed to be a mini series, and now they're on season 15 or something.
No way. How could they?
I might be exaggerating, but there are a lot.
How could they possibly still have stuff to talk about?
They never did. That's how you start by making it up. It started in 2009. It is still going. They are on season 12.
Good.
Episode
Lord.
7 is the most recent one.
How many episodes per season are they doing?
That's a good question. Let's see. Season 11 was 15 episodes. Okay. So they've done 180 episodes.
I mean,
that's fucking, I think they're an hour too.
If we've ever been concerned about running out of material for the What If podcast, we need no longer, because we ask hypotheticals about a whole bunch of crazy philosophical and paranormal shit. They just talk about aliens, and they've done 180.
They had an episode that was just called The New Evidence. Followed by Pyramids of Antarctica.
Yes. Show it to me. Explain it to me.
You know how you explain it?
Ancient aliens.
I suppose that has to be the answer every time, if that's
so
the name
good.
of your show, right?
So good. All right.
We are back. It is the What If podcast. We're talking about what if you saw a UFO. We did a part 1 last week where we talked about a whole bunch of UFO stuff.
We're going to get into some actual aliens, goddammit. We haven't talked about any humanoids or Nordics or reptilians or grays.
Oh boy, guys. Spencer
Nothing
just
yet.
said a lot of buzzwords that got him real hype right now.
Yep.
So hype right now.
All right. We're going to Zimbabwe, my friend.
Take me to Africa, bro.
We're going to Ruwa, Zimbabwe in 1994.
Okay.
And we're going to an elementary school.
All right.
The Ariel School.
Ariel? Mm-hmm. As in the school is in the air?
No, that's Arial, right?
Arial.
Oh, this is Ariel, like the name.
Okay, got it.
It is not a sky school.
Checking it's not floating, because that would already be a UFO.
Floating cities is totally an episode we should do, because that's a thing.
All right.
So we're at this elementary school in 1994. There's 62 students who are out at recess. And for whatever reason, the kids are basically unsupervised. Yeah. There's one adult kind of not really keeping an eye on these 62 kids.
That doesn't seem like super far away from when we were in elementary school.
That's a lot of kids and no adults, but whatever. And all 62 of these students witnessed a disc-shaped aircraft land in the field next to the school.
What?
They went over there to see what that thing was that just landed next to their school.
As you do.
And they saw a strange being get out and start walking towards them.
1994.
94.
A being is walking at 62 elementary children.
Yes, and they described it as a small, like their height, totally black, and not like black skinned, but like they described it as saying it looked like it was a shadow.
Whoa.
And the only real detail they could make out about it was that it had long hair.
Oh.
Right. You don't hear about aliens with hair very often,
unless
it's the Nordics who have beautiful blonde hair and help you with your math homework. We're still going to get to later.
My man.
Been teasing it for 2 weeks now.
My man.
We're going to get there.
So excited about it. All right, let's do it.
So these 62 kids all see this little black alien get out of its UFO, and it starts walking towards them. And as it's walking towards them, it sort of looks up and is like, oh, shit, they saw me, didn't they? Fuck, they saw me. And he instantly, like, transports himself back behind the UFO.
Tight.
So he doesn't walk back there. He, like...
Space jumps?
Yeah.
Sweet. Good for him.
And even when he was walking, a lot of the kids described it as saying it looked like he was hovering or rolling. Like, he didn't take steps. He was just sort of gliding towards them.
Sick.
Stopped, saw them, and then, like, warped back behind his little UFO.
Love it.
All the kids run inside screaming.
Yeah.
Simultaneously, they all get the fuck out of there.
I bet.
And they go find an adult, and they start describing what they saw.
I need an adult.
Yes. Said 62 kids simultaneously.
Fam, that could happen to me right now, and I, as a fucking grown-ass man, would yell the phrase, I need an adult.
And over the next few days, the adults, the teachers, the staff at the school tried to figure out what had happened.
Did no adult see this? It was just the kids?
It was only the kids.
Whoa.
There was one adult out there, and she was not with the kids. Great job. A+ education, Zimbabwe.
Doing the most.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was only the kids, and the adults initially kind of wrote it off as like some weird story that the kids were telling, or like a prank or something.
Yeah.
And then that night they started getting calls from a bunch of the parents saying like, what the hell happened at school today? And my kid is terrified, and they're saying they saw an alien, and
fuck.
So the school decided at that point that they maybe had to take it seriously.
Sure.
And they interviewed the kids about what they saw. They got another researcher involved who was actually John Mack. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Yeah, but I don't know why that name sounds familiar.
He's a UFO researcher, and he's also a Harvard-trained psychiatrist.
Whoa.
And so when he was doing this investigation, he was actually an MD and was on staff at, I mean, he still is, but was on staff at Harvard.
Oh, shit.
And they sanctioned his research because some people complained. They were like, do you know that this dude representing a university is out here like researching aliens and UFOs? And they're like, yeah, I don't know. He's smart and he does good work, and we let him do what he wants when he's not working for us.
Yeah.
So go fuck yourself.
Yeah. So let that man cook.
So these stories started trickling in from the kids, and a lot of them are videotaped.
Whoa.
And I don't remember who it was originally, but I think it was BBC maybe did there's like an hour-long TV special with most of these interviews from the kids and a lot of their drawings and interviews with the adults, and there's a ton of information about it out there. If you just search Zimbabwe UFO or Ariel UFO, you'll find it. There's also...
Dude, that freaked me out when he said there's a bunch of video interviews with the kids.
There is. Yeah, there's tons. And a lot of them have now, because this was 23 years ago, a lot of them now are still talking about it, and there's a group that's been working on a new documentary about it that was supposed to come out in 2015 and is still getting pushed back. But they've found a lot of those kids now 20 some years later as adults.
Asked them about it.
And are asking them about it again.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So there's a trailer for that up at, what is it called? Ariel Project or Ariel Phenomenon?
And that's ARIAL?
ARIEL Phenomenon.com.
Oh, Ariel like the mermaid.
Yes.
Got
It's the name of the school.
it.
It must be named after somebody named Ariel.
What was the URL again? Ariel
Phenomenon.com.
Ariel Phenomenon.
It says coming soon, and it's been coming soon for almost 2 years, so I don't know what's going on. I think they're trying to raise money to finish it.
Man, that's
But there's about a 5-minute trailer on their website that's really cool and has portions of these interviews. So what they described in these interviews, they said that they had first seen 3 objects in the sky, and the objects would sort of like blink out, disappear, and then reappear in a different part of the sky. And so some of the kids out at recess were watching these objects up in the sky, and they watched one of the objects move closer and closer to the ground and then finally land in sort of this like brush next to where they were playing. And they weren't supposed to go over there. It was like this uncleared brush area that they were supposed to stay out of. But it was only about 100 yards from the kids.
Okay.
And they saw a small man about 3 feet tall.
Dude,
I had this wrong initially. He appeared on top of the object. So he was standing like on the roof of the UFO.
Sweet.
The little man, who was described as having a scrawny neck, long black hair, and huge eyes, walked/glided across the ground a short way towards the students. He noticed them, vanished, and reappeared at the back of the object. He then took off, or like got in the craft, it took off and vanished. So that was the whole interaction. But some of the older students reported having some sort of telepathic communication with this thing, with this little 3-foot-tall guy, while he was outside of the ship. And they said this is because it's elementary school, so the oldest kid is like 12,
right?
And you're going down to 5-year-olds who saw this.
Yeah.
And they were trying to describe. One of the girls is basically trying to describe, without having the words for it, telepathy to the guy who's interviewing her. And she was saying, I felt terrible, but I felt specifically terrible about the planet and what we were doing to it. And this girl is like 7. Whoa. And the interviewer asks her, had you ever thought about that before? And she said, no, like I don't know. I don't know anything about that.
I'm a first grader.
Yeah.
So.
And she said, when I looked at his eyes, I felt this way and had these ideas. And and some of the younger kids, especially the black kids, because this was a school of all different kids. There was like a bunch of white kids and a bunch of black kids and a bunch of city kids and a bunch of whatever. And some of the little kids, especially the little black kids, were terrified immediately of this thing because they thought it was a demon who would eat them. Because apparently, there's this legend of Tolkolishish.
Okay.
Whatever. I'm sure I butchered that, but amongst like in their culture, there's this legend of a little like 3-foot-tall black demon who eats kids. So they all thought it was that thing and got the fuck out of there. The older kids stuck around for a little longer and had this telepathic communication with this thing. And this all happened in like a minute.
Dude, this is tripping me right the fuck
yeah,
out.
If you Google it, you can find images of some of their drawings. And if you YouTube it, make sure you put video.
Yeah. Always.
So you don't find the drawings on YouTube. If you YouTube it, you can find interviews with the kids and more of their drawings and stuff.
Oh my God, what? Get the fuck out of here.
So John Mack went out there and re-interviewed all the kids and spent a few days out there. And his conclusion at the end of it was that they had a genuine experience and that all of them, if you have 62 kids lying to you, you would obviously know about it.
Kids aren't that good at organizing bullshit.
Hell no.
They would fuck that up instantly.
And they were interviewed separately as a group over a long period of time. And if you watch it, like the kids are not lying. listen to them talk, if you watch their expressions, if you watch them trying to like use their little kid brains to reason through this crazy thing that they just saw, it's pretty fascinating, man. I think it's probably one of the best documented or like most unique UFO/alien encounters that I've ever come across.
Oh man. Okay.
Ryan just has no words.
Yo, I'm super tripped out right now, and I just checked out the website, and I got chills because I read the quote on the homepage from one of the girls who was at the school named Tamirira, who said,
"Oh yeah.
If there was one experience I would like to relive, it would be that particular experience."
Yeah, man. I really hope that they...
Oh, man, this is bugging me out, dude.
I really hope that they get some money to finish this movie up, because I would love... I'm looking at their Facebook right now to see where... Oh, shit, I have a Facebook message. Big Mike. Fuck, not Big Mike.
All right. It
'cause
seems
if they're
like
trying
they're
to-
still fundraising is what
Yeah,
their
I'm trying
whole
to direct
website
people
says.
to where to give them money and give them some myself, because I want to see this movie get done. Okay, we are working hard in post-production on the film. It's a grassroots effort with a few extremely dedicated people who have been working tirelessly. Stay with us because 2017 is going to be exciting. Well, I want to help you finish.
There's a donate button on their website
Oh, okay.
on the about.
All right, cool. So go to Ariel, Ariel, phenomenon.com,
Yep.
click on about. Oh, wow, they really hid that one. And then way down at the bottom, there's a PayPal donate link. Okay, cool.
All right.
Also, unrelated, shout out to Gorder, who, while recording this, texted me, "It is utter bullshit that I have to wait a full week for part 2. So,
What's up, Gorder?
hopefully that was worth it.
All right. Gorder's a homie of ours who supports the podcast fully, and we support him fully. And maybe we'll send him an advanced edit of it just to satiate his desires. Okay, so bro,
This is why we got, never mind,
that story was
some inside podcasting, but this is why we need to set up that Patreon page.
Ayo.
So y'all can give us money and you don't have to search around for a PayPal donate button hidden on our website.
And also so we can live record our episodes maybe and give them to you on Patreon. If you guys would be interested in that, let us know. Send us an email at hi@whatifpodcast.com or tweet us at @whatifpod. If you guys think it would be cool to like we don't always, yes, you guys get these every Wednesday morning. We do not record these every Tuesday night. That's not how this works. Surprise. I don't think anyone's surprised about that. But
Some more inside podcasting for you.
yeah, right. And obviously, we edit these too, so there are minutes and things happening that don't make it to the show. So if you are interested in potentially seeing these live when we're doing them, we could maybe make that happen. So I don't know
sure.
if you guys are interested in that.
Or any other things that y'all would be interested in.
Yeah, real talk. If you guys want us to do anything or try anything, hi@whatifpodcast.com. That's hi@whatifpodcast.com. Or you can go to the contact page at whatifpodcast.com and send us a contact.
For only $10 a month, I'll share my bookmarks folder with you that's labeled weird shit.
Oh, God. Oh, God. I still think it would be really funny to do an entire episode that literally is Spencer going into the Hennepin County Library and being like, hey, can you guys print my rental history for the last 2 years?
They don't keep it, man.
Really?
They don't keep it.
Wow.
Because I've wanted to go
Look back?
Yeah. And they don't. Well, if they do, it's not public. At least you can't access it as a library patron.
You can't say, can you print my history so I can go back and look at it?
Unfortunately, not.
All right.
That would be cool though. I've got 2 more all the way fucking
Let's
out
get
there that I've
weirder.
been teasing for 2 weeks stories.
I'm
So
already
we should
freaked
probably
out.
tell them.
I'm already freaked out. Let's get weirder because that
And-
really freaked me out.
We haven't gone into the abduction thing at all yet, right?
Oh, boy.
I don't think we did last week.
Well, we talked about Big Mike mentioning that possibility.
Right, but his fucking story didn't get to that part either.
And we talked about Betty and
Oh, that's right. We did talk a little bit about Betty and Barney Hill.
Barney Hill, who
That's right.
who claimed that they did not have a great time in an alien spaceship.
Okay.
Let's go.
Got two stories.
Yep.
It's going to be a bit of a choose your own adventure. Which one do you want first? Do you want 15-foot tall praying mantises from outer space? Or do you want the beautiful blonde-haired space math tutors.
Let's bookend it. We opened with praying mantises. We're going to close with praying mantises.
So you
We're
want
gonna
the
bring it full
blonde-haired
circle.
space tutors first?
I guess so. Is this
Okay.
a real thing? Where is this coming from?
Great question. This is coming from Preston Dennett's book called Inside UFOs, True Accounts of Contact.
Who is Preston?
Preston Dennett is a UFO researcher
Okay.
who I had heard of previously, but, through listening to weird shit.
Yeah.
I think I first heard about him on Mysterious Universe.
Shouts out to those guys.
Those guys are cool. They were talking about his UFO healing stories, which maybe they should hit up Mike.
Big Mike had his healing story.
So I went on Amazon and just tried to find one of his books, and the only one they had in stock was this one called Inside UFOs. So what he did, he collected 10 first-hand accounts of alien abduction.
By collected, do you mean he grabbed them from other sources, or
No,
he actually
these are all, he is getting
went to the source?
primary source material.
Cool.
And he's collected it in this book of 10 short stories, basically. All right. This is
boy.
Taylor's Extraterrestrial Friends is the name of this story.
Hi, Taylor.
It's 1964.
Oh, wow. Wait, how did he get primary source material from 1964?
He talked to this guy who had this experience in 1964.
Okay. I guess I was an old guy.
People that were alive in 1964 are definitely still alive now.
Well, no, I'm saying that was 63 years ago, so...
Yeah, he was a kid.
All right.
All right. He was a little kid, and his mom told him to go mail a bill. So he was walking down to the post office. It was like 9 o'clock at night.
Okay.
And he said when he was walking down the street, all of a sudden everything was just totally silent and still, which is something that happens a lot in UFO and alien encounters, which is often referred to as the Oz effect, in case we need to reference it again later.
OZ, like Wizard of Oz?
Yes.
I just got the shivvies.
It's also a little cold in here.
Well.
We'll blame it on that. This is downtown St. Louis, 9 o'clock on like a weeknight. So there should have been stuff going on. It's just totally silent. And suddenly he has this very strong impulse that he needs to just look up. Doesn't know why, but he just does it. And he said he couldn't see any of the stars that had been there a second ago. It was like something was blocking him out.
Yep.
But he could see the bottom of some sort of object hovering about 40 feet directly above him.
Okay.
And he said he couldn't really discern how big it was or what shape it was because it was like so on top of him that he couldn't make out the edges of it.
Okay.
But it blotted out the entire sky above him.
Sweet.
So he's standing there looking straight up. I should keep my face at the microphone instead of giving visual cues for this story.
Demonstrating.
Really pro shit around here. He's looking straight up and he can't see any of the sky. It's blocking out his entire view.
Yep.
And suddenly he is hit with this blinding beam of blue-white light.
He's having a very legit beat me up, Scotty.
Yeah. His next memory is walking home.
Okay.
So he gets home and he says, I could tell, this is now a quote directly from Taylor.
Yeah.
I could tell something had happened to me. It was like I had a new awareness of myself, other people, other things. I suddenly saw, knew, and thought about myself in a clearer way. It was like not necessarily being older, but maybe being more intelligent.
Hey, bro, was the thing that your mom asked you to bring to the mailbox an envelope full of LSD? Is that possible? Did you go on a trip you don't remember and come back like, I got it all figured out now?
I mean, that's some pretty heavy shit for, I think he was 9 when this happened.
For sure. Yeah, that's a weird thing to say. I mean,
right.
A weird thing to like have an
This
experience.
dude just
as
had like
kid.
basically an acid trip.
Right?
Without the acid at 9 years old.
It just all made sense after that.
And there's this blue light.
Yeah.
And he said, I tried to tell my mother what happened, but the only thing she was concerned about was that I'd mailed the electric bill and why was I an hour late getting home? 60s parents.
Yo, that sounds like my mom. That sounds like every mom. She's like, what? Did you mail the letter?
And where have you been for an hour?
You shut your mouth, aliens. Shut the fuck up. Did you mail the letter? Yes. Did anybody hurt you? No. All right, then get your ass upstairs and go to bed. Oh my God. I'm playing my mom as nice as hell. I love my mama.
So at that point, when his mom was asking, like, where the hell have you been? He put it together that he was missing about an hour of time. And
a lot of missing time in these stories, man.
yeah, I mean, that's very
Common.
very common. And he said he had a profound feeling of enlightenment, which again, for a 9-year-old kid, like, what? How do you even process what that is or what that means?
To you?
Yeah,
Right.
And he said it was overall like a very positive experience. He wasn't scared, but he also didn't totally remember what happened.
Sure.
And he said over the next couple weeks, more specifics started coming back to him. And he recalled being taken aboard that craft that he saw above him, where he encountered beautiful, human-looking extraterrestrials.
Tight.
He said they were tall, thin men with long, blonde, straight hair about shoulder length. And he had some conversation with them, and he started to call them the Nordics.
Cool.
Yep. Which
Cool.
is now, I don't know if this is the origin of that. I would guess it's not. But that is considered if you looked at our chart of UFOs that I showed you before, or of aliens that I showed you, Nordics are definitely on there. They're considered a race of ETs.
Bro, I love the idea that like maybe like this one specific group of aliens, the first time they landed was in Norway, and they're like, all right, like this is what we're supposed to like grab disguises of. And when they go to St. Louis, they're like, everyone looks like this, 15 feet tall with like 5 foot long blonde hair.
These aren't the 15-foot tall ones.
Oh,
these just look like
humanoid-ish.
These are just blonde dudes inside a UFO. That's the best part about the Nordics. It's just like guys.
Cool.
That could maybe be from Norway or Sweden or something.
Or potentially millions of light years away.
Yep. They were all very handsome and very friendly, he said.
Sweet.
I knew we had conversations, but I just couldn't remember what they were. They felt more like friends, or more than friends. They felt like family to me.
Whoa, weird.
Mm-hmm. He then goes on to say that it was not only a positive experience, but became sort of a turning point in his life. And after this experience, he started doing better at school.
My man.
This kid was real dumb.
Man.
He failed 2nd grade.
Oh, literally?
Yeah.
Whoa.
And was being told that he had all sorts of like learning disabilities and issues at school, and was sort of like his parents were at the end of their rope with him at school.
The aliens were like, nah, we got you, fam.
Yeah, they became his beautiful blonde-haired space tutors, and he started getting straight A's after that.
Nah, bro, we got you. Hey.
We figured out math a long time ago, dog. We got this.
How you think we got this ship here, motherfucker? We know numbers
science,
real
we got
good.
That. He also says, my mother always claimed that from the earliest age, I spoke a language other than English.
What?
And in 2nd grade, he was sent to a speech therapist because he was speaking something that wasn't English at school.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Is he a hybrid baby? Is he a hybrid baby?
He doesn't go that far.
Okay.
It does continue to get crazier though. So I'm gonna plow ahead.
Don't know how, but here we go.
He said this event changed my life forever, and I credit it with who I am today. It set the tone for the rest of my life. I cannot stress enough how life-changing this was. I suddenly had an insatiable desire to learn and to read. After reading our set of encyclopedias, my mother couldn't keep me out of the public library.
Whoa.
Yeah. So he has this experience that he says is enlightening and this life-changing event, and then instantly starts seeking out any and all forms of knowledge after previously being like a straight F student.
Whoa.
And he's like, at this point, 10, I think.
Because he went to go mail a letter one day.
Right? Because the electric bill was late. So I was 64. He continues to have sightings and experiences throughout most of the rest of his life. We jump ahead to 65, I think, and he's at his cousin's house, and they had just gotten this new swing set, and they're all playing on the swing set, and he was doing the thing where you hang upside down from your knees across like the top bar, and he said, quote, I felt something kind of dislodged from my nose. I didn't want to pick my nose in front of my cousin, so I went around to the side of the house and pulled this thing out of my nose. It was kind of like a shiny cylinder. It wasn't very large, maybe a quarter of an inch. And I just threw it on the ground and went back to playing. At the time, I remember thinking, oh boy, they're not going to be able to find me now. I don't know why I thought that. Years later, I now believe it was an implant that had been placed inside of me during my abduction 2 years prior.
And I'm like, bro, put it in a shoebox and keep it forever.
He's like at that point, an 11-year-old
just
kid.
Never get like
11-year-old kids intentionally put stuff up their nose.
Well, so there's also that you could have been shoving crayons up your nose when you were in. I always am like, it's never enough. You know, it's like that's a crazy thing to say, but it's not like
you're getting it. You're starting to get it. There are 10 million of these stories, and it's never quite enough. I'm gonna leave Taylor's story there. Right. He goes on to tell about other experiences he had as a teenager and into his 20s, and but we've been going for a minute, and I promised giant bugs from outer space.
We started with wild stories about chowing down while getting down. We're gonna finish there too.
That was after our first break, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
Speaking of losing time, Spencer's like,
I've literally been in the studio for 12 hours at this point, and
you don't know where you are.
Alternately,
what's
just
happening.
like reading about UFOs and working on music, and I don't know what's happening anymore.
All right, perfect.
We recorded on these same topics 2 days ago. I don't know what day it is. Anyway.
All right, so we have praying mantis, aliens, UFOs, both. Let's go.
This is the story of Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
Kevin was stationed on a Navy ship.
This is Macaulay Culkin.
This is it's not Kevin McAllister. No.
Kevin.
We are in 1982.
Okay.
Kevin's in the Navy.
Okay.
And he's out in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of the Philippines.
All right.
And he's talking to his buddy Larry.
Sure.
Kevin and Larry.
My guys.
Quite the duo.
Yes, sir.
And Larry starts talking about UFOs. And he says that he's seen UFOs many times in his life. And Kevin's like, all right, cool. Not sure why you just brought that up. It seems kind of weird, but thanks for sharing.
Cool, Larry. I'm going to go over here now.
Yeah. And that was sort of the end of that conversation.
Yeah.
2 days later, Larry comes up to him and he says, hey, my friends took me to your house. And Kevin's like, pardon?
I'm sorry. Larry said, my friends took me to your house?
Correct.
While they're on a ship in the middle of the Pacific Ocean?
Correct.
Tight.
Mm-hmm.
Just clarifying.
Kevin is from Michigan. He's not from the Philippines or an island in the Pacific Ocean.
And they didn't bring Michigan with them on a boat.
Correct. So Kevin says, would you care to elaborate on that weird shit you just said, Larry? And I'm going to read now directly from Larry's quote, from Kevin's quote. He started describing things about my house. He described a 1966 Ford Galaxy 500 that my parents had, down to the specific stains on the seats. I never had any pictures of that car, and he had obviously never seen the car, so I'm not sure how he would have been able to describe it or even know that we had owned it. He started describing some of the furniture that was in the house and the carpet. The details were far too accurate for him to be making this up. He described my bedroom. He had so many details and he had all of them so right. I started to wonder how he had possibly gotten this information. And he said that his friends had come and gotten him and taken him to my house.
Okay, can I do two quick ones really here in the spirit of what if?
Yep.
What if
it were true?
Go on.
Amazing. Weird part was that synced with me.
Yes, it did.
Asking the
really
question,
weird.
what if, and I don't mean this pejoratively at all, what if Kevin is schizophrenic and I'm in the military as a young man far away from home, and there's another construct that can tell me things about myself that I think is outside of me?
You know what's a more fun version of that story?
Ancient aliens? Yeah, okay. I kind of figured that's where that was going. All right. Sure, but just wanted to put that possibility out there that...
True.
Thinking that some friend of yours knows a lot about you.
You would think that the Navy would notice if you were schizophrenic.
That's real.
That would be my one counter.
You guys, Larry knows so much about my home.
Right.
Kevin, who's Larry?
You don't
What? You don't know Larry? He's my bunkmate. Kevin, why don't you come in this room real quick? Yeah. Okay.
So,
all right.
I mean,
all right.
he's got to be relatively sane, I would think.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I just, in the spirit of, I gotta ask a question. All right. Keep it moving. Where does Kevin go?
So Kevin says everything that Larry described to him was incredibly accurate, except that it was all at least 15 years old.
Oh, cool. All right.
So he's describing his parents' house, exactly as it was 15 years prior.
Wow. Interesting.
And so this is enough for Kevin to be like, I don't know what the fuck is going on here, but I would like to know more about what the fuck is going on here. And he sort of jokingly says to him, all right, then, well, I want to meet your friends. And Larry's like, all right, cool. I'll ask him.
I'll grab my 1982 cell phone and
so
my Zach Morris cell phone and call up the aliens.
Mm-hmm. The next day, Larry comes up to him and he says, well, I talked to him and they said that they'll be more than happy to take you for a ride. And Kevin's like,
get out of here.
Kevin's like, all right, sure, cool, sounds good. When are they coming to get me? Larry goes, tomorrow. So
confident, Larry.
So the next day they're working together and they take a break to eat lunch. It's about noon. And Larry sits down next to him and he says to Kevin, they're here. Go up on the main deck and you'll see them. So Kevin walks up to the deck and he sees a giant diamond-shaped object hovering alongside the ship at an altitude of about 100 feet. He says it was the size of maybe 6 city blocks. So that's half a mile, 0.6 of a mile wide.
I'm sorry, and no one else on this military ship saw this?
Getting there.
Okay.
He said it was
cool.
He said it was the size of like a downtown area. It was huge.
Okay.
And it was glowing lots of beautiful colors.
Tight.
He also says, quote, it was the most beautiful thing I have ever seen in my life.
Whoa.
He said, my ship was exactly 528 feet long, and the diamond-shaped object was at least 3 times longer, probably much bigger than that.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Dude, that would be so overwhelming.
He then turns to Larry and says, never mind, I don't want to go.
That's real. That's real.
There were approximately 250 people on board the ship. Surely someone else had to be seeing this, he thinks to himself. Mm-hmm. And he sees one of the cooks standing out on the deck, and he walks over to him, and he grabs his shoulder and is like, hey, man, can you see this thing over here? And Tony, the chef, won't respond to him. He's just like staring straight ahead, not moving.
Like he doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm. As if he were like frozen. Time had stopped for everybody except Larry and Kevin.
Okay, I'm going to get real wacky on you for like 1 second.
Please.
I feel like so I've heard some version of that as well, that like when people are having one of these experiences, they seem to like not disembody, because that would be like out of body, but almost like out of time and place themselves.
Okay.
Like in the same way that the one that you just talked about is like the kid going, it was quiet in the city when it shouldn't have been. Mm-hmm. Like people, like their surroundings almost seem to like change in a way. Mm-hmm. And like, I don't know.
Are you saying it's maybe like a dissociative thing, or? No,
I'm maybe more saying, well, maybe you could call it that, but you could also say, is there, if I'm fully going hypothetical on it, is there a way that like you as alien can expose yourself to certain people in sort of like focus ray mode?
That is definitely a theme. Yes.
Where you can like put them into, you can experience us and we can experience you, but you can't experience the world around you and the world around you can't experience you. It's almost like dimensional or time or some combo of the two.
Totally. That comes up in many of these stories.
That's kind of why I ask it, is because I feel like I've heard multiple versions of that. It seems sort of outside of the, like almost for a moment, people get pulled out of their time-space continuum.
For sure. And it's like selective too.
Yeah, selective, yeah.
The next thing Kevin knows, after trying to talk to Tony, the cook who ignored him, he's no longer on the deck.
Maybe Tony just hated him. Well, he's like, fuck that guy.
He's no longer on the deck of his ship. Instead, he's looking down at it.
Ooh.
And he says, quote, "All of a sudden I'm on this craft looking down and I can see right through the wall and right through the floor of the craft.
Whoa.
No matter where I look, I can see through it. I could see that it was solid around the outside edges, but wherever I looked, I could see through it in the center. And it was perfectly clear. It was like looking through a window."
Huh.
So if he, like in his peripheral vision, he can see that there are walls and a ceiling and a floor, but
Right.
whatever is the focus of his is transparent.
Cool.
He looks down at the ship and he can see himself standing on the deck of the ship trying to get Tony's attention.
Whoa.
So now he is having like a full-on out-of-body experience.
Crazy.
And he thinks to himself, this can't be happening. This can't be real.
No.
To which a voice inside his own head says, "Yes, it is. We thought this is what you wanted."
Oh, man.
So that freaks him out for a second. And
No doubt.
he looks down again and he's no longer looking down on his ship. They're now over some urban area. And he realizes that he's looking at the downtown section of his hometown.
They're like, see, we told you we've been here.
Kankakee, Illinois, his hometown.
Okay.
He realizes at this point that he can not only see through the walls and the floor of the ship, he can start to see through the walls of the buildings around them.
Okay.
So they're approaching some building in this downtown area, and he can see through it, and he can see his dad sitting at his desk at work. So these aliens are taking him around to his dad's work. They take him to his parents' house, and he starts thinking to himself about how they had shown him his hometown, or shown Larry his hometown
Yeah.
15 years ago.
Yeah.
And now they're showing him his hometown, what seems to be
Present
currently.
day. Yeah.
But that also it seems to still be about noon. So they somehow traveled. If they're physically traveling, it wouldn't really seem possible that they went from the Philippines to Illinois
But the time of day stayed the same.
in 0 minutes.
Right.
Yeah. And then, so they show him around the hometown, show him that they can kind of do whatever they want to do. And he asks them, "How do you know my parents? Why are you showing me all of this?" And they respond to him telepathically again. And he says while they're talking to him, he's too scared to turn around and look at them. Like he knows that there's somebody behind him somewhere
Yeah.
that he's communicating with. He's talking out loud. They're responding telepathically, but he can't bring himself to turn around and see who or what he's interacting with.
Can I just say one thing really quick?
Sure.
This to me also rings kind of interestingly similar to some of the near-death experience stuff we've talked about.
Of there being a presence,
Voice
of
and
leaving your
presence
body,
behind you.
seeing your own body.
Seeing your own body, traveling from place to place in short periods of time.
Oh my God, is Kevin dead?
Is Kevin dead? Is Kevin dead? Did Kevin die?
Yeah, I had that thought too when I was
Did
reading through
Kevin's
this.
ship get bombed and he's like,
No, because he's telling this story
No, I
to
know,
Preston.
I know. But honestly though, like there are
lots of
so many
similarities.
similar elements of like a controlling godly feature, taking you to familiar places, making you feel comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
being not in sight, but also very somehow physically present.
Seeing your own body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some really interesting overlap.
They then change scenes again, so they're not in Illinois anymore. And he thinks to himself, "My God, this looks like the moon." And then we came up over a ridge, and I will never forget seeing the North and South American continents and the globe off in the distance, just like you see from the pictures taken from the moon.
Wow.
So he's now apparently on the moon looking back at Earth. Seconds later,
isn't this what you wanted, Kevin?
seconds later, they shift again, and he's now back in his hometown, but he's looking at himself as a child.
Wow.
So again, tie in with the near-death experience stuff. There's often like a end-of-life review,
Right.
or something like that.
Wait, don't kill me, wait.
Well, they then also show him another scene from his life, except it's in the future. And they show him getting into, he guessed it was probably about 10 years in the future, based on how old he looked.
Right.
And they show him getting hit by a car on a motorcycle.
Whoa.
And he said, I assumed that they had just shown me how I die.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
This is like so thorough.
Yeah. He starts talking to them more. He still can't bring himself to turn around and look at them, but he's talking to him, and he starts asking some questions about where are you from? And they told him the name of his planet, and he said it sounded like Zizu to Zizizit, or something like that. That's, in case you're keeping score at home, that's ZIZZUTZZIZZIT.
Cool. Thanks, Kevin. Great job, bro. It sounded like skibba-skibba-buff. All right, cool. Thanks, Kevin.
How do you spell that? He then asked, why are you here? And they said, we have been here for a very long time. We are only here to observe.
Okay.
They then told Kevin that when humans discovered and began testing atomic weaponry, it caused them to pay much closer attention, and it also drew the interest of other ETs.
Well, goddamn.
They showed me mudslides and volcanic eruptions, hurricanes and floods, and various other natural disasters that were going to happen. And they said, these are things that are going to come. Quote.
Yikes. Deal with that how you may, Kevin.
You're going to die. There's going to be a hurricane.
Hey, Kevin, check out this bad shit that hasn't happened yet.
He also says, quote, they told me the Roswell crash was true. I don't know what he means by true in this case. I'm assuming he means that those were aliens.
Were in fact aliens, yeah.
He also said they told me they interact with our government all the time, and we are getting technology from them.
Tight.
He says at this point I still hadn't looked at them yet. I still didn't know what they looked like, and so instead of turning around to look at them, he asked them, "What do you look like?" They said, "We don't look like you. Sometimes we might scare you if you look at us."
Oh, here we go. I was wondering when we were going to get there. I should have known.
He said he had noticed at times that the room seemed to change size, as if the room he was in was sometimes huge and it was sometimes just the immediate space around him. He turns around.
Don't turn around, Kevin.
And he says,
Never
sitting in 3 chairs behind him were 3 gigantic praying mantises.
Yes.
He estimated that they were each about 15 feet tall.
Okay. All right.
They looked very much like enormous insects, and their skin was a milky white color from head to toe.
Whoa, weird.
Their head was easily 5 times larger than a human's.
Whoa, weird.
Which he assumed enabled them to be so intelligent.
Bro, it was their head size.
I noticed that when one of them turned his head to the side, he had a membrane covering the outside of the skull, and you could see through it and see what appeared to be gray brain matter.
What the fuck, man? See, some of this shit is so weirdly specific. That's also part of why these weird me out so hard.
Also a weird one about this, he said he glanced behind him and saw some sort of console. It was like about chest high and about 20 feet long. And he said it looked really cheap. And by cheap, I mean something that would have been from a 50s sci-fi movie. It had a couple little TV screens on it. It had a few switches and dials, and there were maybe about 8 or 10 rows of switches. And there also appeared to be something that looked like hieroglyphics on it. Like, it's 82. You're assuming it's advanced technology, and instead it looks like something from the 50s. But why would it look anything like anything that we would use?
Yeah, it shouldn't. Yeah, right. If this were not coming from somewhere in your brain.
He says, I thought to myself, even the sets of Star Trek looked more advanced than this. And he would be referencing the original, like, 60s Star Trek, I'm assuming.
Sure.
He then starts getting really freaked out because now he's seen these 15-foot tall praying mantises. And he also realizes that even though they seem somewhat friendly, he has been kidnapped by them.
Yeah. And, can I go home now? I'm really done with this.
He decides that he wants to get the fuck out of there.
Sure.
And they ask him, would you like to go to our planet? Oh, and he's also super freaked out because he knows they can read his thoughts.
It's like, don't be freaked out. I'm freaked out. Don't be freaked out.
Too late.
They know. Shit, they know I'm freaked out.
So one of them asks, would you like to go to our planet? And
no.
Kevin says,
oh, shit.
Kevin says, no, thank you.
That's real.
He wanted nothing more. I wanted nothing more than to get away from these creatures and return back to my ship. I remember feeling like a trapped rat, and I couldn't escape because I knew they knew what I was thinking. if they were to, and then he goes back to describing them. He says, if they were to make themselves known on Earth and they were doing some of the things that they were doing to me and the average person, they'd be treated like gods. Everybody would be able to accept them. I don't know. He says at this point, one of them walked up to me and put his hand, and he says hand, not like claw.
Pincher.
Yeah, whatever thing, on my shoulder. And that's when I became really fearful and started trying to fight them.
Kevin's throwing bows with a praying mantis.
He said, I fought for a few seconds before blacking out, and what felt like seconds later regained consciousness lying in my bed on the ship.
Wow.
Thought to himself, could it have been a dream? And as soon as he woke up, Larry walked in and said, hey, Kevin, tell me about your ride.
Pretty cool, right?
I mean, that's
the best play. That's the best line you could possibly end that story on. Hey, Kevin, tell me about your ride.
Oh, the only other detail that's worth adding at the end of that is he did indeed buy a motorcycle and crash it very much in the way that they had shown him. Although it was almost 20 years later.
And non-fatal.
Correct. He did not die.
Wow, man.
But he did shatter his leg and get knocked out.
Wow, man. Inside UFOs by Preston Dennett.
That's the guy.
Contained those last two stories.
Dude, we just did like damn near 3 hours, and I feel like I could
go forever.
3 more at least.
Well, maybe we'll break things up with some other stuff, and we'll come back with a part 3 and a part 4 of UFOs, and we'll just keep it moving as long as we got stuff to talk about.
We're gonna be doing this thing for a while. I mean,
real talk.
Might as well.
What do you want to see one?
What, an alien?
A UFO.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Do you want to see an alien?
Yeah.
Do you want to be abducted by an alien?
If that's... Can I do 1 and 2 without 3?
Yeah.
Then I'd rather stop at 2.
Okay. That's it. Yeah. I get it.
Yeah. If it's only 3, I think I'd go for it.
Oh, man. I want to know what everybody else thinks.
What if it's just like the like beautiful human looking ones and they just want to have a space orgy?
It's pretty blonde dudes that want to like touch you nice.
I'm in.
Oh man. I legit want to know what people think, because I wonder if people are like fucking full bore, I'll do it all, or if people are like seeing lights in the sky is plenty for me.
I would guess I'm in the minority on that one.
I don't know. Well, at What If Podcast on pretty much every social media channel you could possibly fuck with, and hi at whatifpodcast.com. If you want to shoot us a message, you can also go to whatifpodcast.com and you can learn about us and a bunch of other stuff on there too. And you can also contact us and send us a message through there as well. Tell us how you feel about UFOs, guys.
And we'll come back next week and talk about some other weird shit that's probably not UFO related.
At least for
Sorry if you hate UFOs and we just spent 3 hours on it.
Don't worry, we keep it mixed up all the time. So we'll keep it moving with another.
Bye.
We'll keep it moving with another What If question next week on the What If Podcast.
It's my new favorite drop, by the way.
Love you. Bye.
We'll see you next week, y'all. All right, squad, be safe.
We'll be back next week with another episode of the What If Podcast. Learn more at www.whatifpodcast.com.
Hey, real quick before we go, since we recorded this episode, we were able to get a hold of Big Mike and actually sit down and have a conversation with him about some of the things he's been experiencing. And we will be releasing that later on this week, probably Thursday or Friday. So check back end of this week for our conversation with Big Mike. Peace.
Now I look back up at the craft and I'm screaming at this guy, please don't take me. I don't want you to take me away. I'm afraid you're going to hurt me. I'm afraid you're not going to bring me back. I said, come on down here and we'll go in and sit down. I got frozen pizza. I got stuff to drink. I'm serious. This is what I was saying.
Yeah.
Because the only thing I had keeping me awake was my humor.